My husband's first love died, and despite my objections, he insisted on adopting her son Chenan, showering him with excessive affection. Later, Chenan became utterly lawless from his indulgence. He tormented my precious daughter into autism and even set fire that burned our whole family to death. Shen Su and I narrowly escaped because we were working overtime, but we were burdened with massive debt as a result. Under the dual torment of physical and psychological suffering, I ultimately died suddenly at 4 a.m. on my way to work. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day we adopted Chenan. In the living room, 10-year-old Chenan was squatting in front of my daughter, watching her play with a doll. It was a new one I had bought her for her birthday last week. Chenan looked at her with a strange expression. "Nyo-nyo, playing like this is so boring. How about Big Brother teaches you a new way to play?" Nyo-nyo looked at Chenan, smiled sweetly, and stretched out her chubby little arm to hold the doll out in front of him, speaking in a crisp voice, "Big Brother, let's play together." Taking the doll, Chenan gave a sinister smile and slowly brought his fingers to the doll's eyes. "Nyo-nyo, look, all I have to do is press hard like this, and this adorable doll will go blind." Nyo-nyo stared blankly as the doll's two pitch-black eyeballs were gouged out by Chenan's fingers, pulling out a clump of cotton. The once cute doll instantly became grotesque. And then, Chenan stared intently at Nyo-nyo's expression, licked his lips, and his smile grew even more sinister, tinged with excitement. He pulled a pair of scissors from his pocket and continued, "Then I'll cut off both his arms and both his legs, so he can't run away." With the swing of the scissors, the cute doll was instantly torn apart, limbs scattered all over the floor, which was covered in fallen cotton, just like the doll's spilled blood. Nyo-nyo blinked, her expression gradually shifting from confusion to fear, and she burst into tears. "Mommy, I want mommy." I immediately rushed forward, hugged Nyo-nyo tightly, and slapped Chenan hard across the face. Chenan covered his cheek, looking at me in disbelief. Shen Su quickly rushed over to stop me. "Tang Tang, what are you doing? It's just kids messing around. Anan has a pitiful background, how could you treat him like this?" Ha, that same line again. In my past life, Shen Su had led 10-year-old Chenan by the hand to me like this, urging me to adopt him. "Tang Tang, this is Su Yu's son. Her husband passed away early, and she raised the child alone. Now she's died in a car accident herself. This child is truly pitiful, shall we adopt him?" Su Yu and Shen Su had grown up together as childhood sweethearts, and she was also the daughter of his father's comrade in arms. They had been in love for a full 10 years and almost got married, but Su Yu suddenly called off the engagement and went to America. Shen Su had been despondent for quite a while because of it. In my past life, I didn't know about this connection at first. I pitied the child for losing his parents so young, and out of compassion, I cared for him even more than my own biological daughter, afraid he might feel like an outsider. But this child was born rotten to the core. Every day after we left for work, he would terrorize and torment my 3-year-old daughter, taking pleasure in the sound of her painful cries. At the time, I only noticed that my once lively, laughing daughter seemed to gradually become dull and withdrawn, very timid. It wasn't until one day he carelessly left a cigarette burn mark on my daughter's body and I discovered it, then installed a hidden camera, that I found out everything he had done. I took my daughter to the hospital for a checkup, and the doctor diagnosed her with autism. I was so furious I wanted to send him to juvenile detention, but Shen Su and his parents still tried to protect him. "Tang Tang, he's just a child, he doesn't understand anything. As long as you teach him patiently, he'll definitely change. Tang Tang, this child's grandfather is an old comrade who saved Xiao Su's father's life. Our family owes him a debt of gratitude, we can't be ungrateful." No one cared about my daughter's suffering. Later, the child they talked about, spoiled more and more arrogant, was scolded by Shinsu's parents for skipping class, and in the middle of the night while everyone was asleep, he set fire to the house. The flames spread through the entire building, and Shinsu's parents, who were closest to the source of the fire, ultimately couldn't be rescued. And my daughter, because she had insisted on sleeping with grandma that night, died in that fire as well. I aged 10 years overnight, going mad and wanting to tell the police. But Shinsu once again knelt before me for his sake, begging, "Tang Tang, please, he's just a child, he doesn't understand anything. If he goes to juvenile detention, his whole life will be ruined." Yes, even though my daughter lost her life, her biological father still only cares about the future of his first love son. This is the wonderful husband I married. Recalling everything from my past life, I looked at the man who once again chose to stand by Chen En's side and said coldly, "Indeed, I shouldn't have treated him this way." Shinsu didn't expect me to admit fault so easily and said cheerfully, "Tang Tang, you're so good. Go cheer up and everything will be fine." "No," I said coldly. "What I mean is, let's get a divorce. You can take care of this child yourself." "What?" Shinsu shrieked. "Yi Tang, what the hell is wrong with you? You were the one who started it by hitting Anan, and I just said a few words to you, and now you want a divorce?" I sneered, "Shinsu, do you really think I don't know? You've never been someone overflowing with sympathy. Adopting him is just your way of clinging to your longing for Suyu, isn't it?" His face instantly turned pale. "You? What nonsense are you talking about? Suyu and I, we have nothing." Even his explanation was feeble and weak. "Mommy, can you please stop arguing with Daddy? Nyo isn't sad." Suddenly, a childish voice interrupted the quarrel between Shinsu and me. Looking down, Nyo, whom I was holding in my arms, was looking up at me with an angelic smile. Instantly, my nose tingled, and tears streamed down uncontrollably. In my past life, Nyo's cries for mommy in the fire still echoed in my ears, making it feel like my throat was being squeezed, unable to breathe. Heaven had mercy. At this moment, feeling Nyo's small body still radiating warmth in my arms, hearing her call me mommy again, the desire to leave the Shin family grew even stronger. In this life, I will definitely protect my daughter. Nyo, how about mommy takes you away? The little one in my arms stretched out her chubby little arms and patted my back, her soft, childish voice reaching my ears, "Mommy, don't cry. Nyo will always be with mommy." I wiped away my tears, put Nyo on the bed, and opened the suitcase to start packing her clothes. Shinsu's mother also came over, her face full of dissatisfaction. "You women are so unreasonable. Xiao Su was just trying to discuss things with you properly. This child is truly pitiful. Su Yu's father did our family a great favor. How can you hit and scold him like this? How can you face Su Yu's deceased parents?" I turned around and sneered at her, "Yes, he did your family a favor, not me. So, you three can repay that favor slowly. My daughter and I won't be joining you." After packing the luggage, I picked up Nyo and headed for the door. Shinsu shouted from behind, "Go ahead and leave if you want. No one cares. When you're a divorced woman with a child, let's see who will want you. You'll come crawling back crying to me." I cast a cold glance at him without stopping my steps. "Shinsu, after all these years of marriage, I still don't really know you. If you're so eager to be a cheap father to someone else's child, that's your business. Don't drag me into it." I decisively pushed open the door and walked toward the stairwell. Just as I was about to pick up the suitcase and head downstairs, I suddenly heard an unusual noise behind me. Having experienced the pain of losing a daughter once, a mother's instinct made me extremely alert. As the movement behind me was about to touch me, I immediately dodged, holding Nyo tightly against the wall by the stairs. Ah! A scream rang out as a figure tumbled down the stairs like a wheel. I held Nyo close and let out a long sigh of relief. It was Chenon, the 10-year-old they called a good child. He couldn't wait any longer to kill me and my daughter. Chenon, who had rolled down the stairs, got up, blood dripping from his forehead. He glared at me with venomous eyes. "Why don't you like me? Anyone who doesn't like me deserves to die." Shen Su and his parents, hearing the commotion, rushed out. Seeing Chenon with a broken head, they were horrified and quickly ran downstairs to help him into the house. As they passed by me, I spoke softly, "You've seen what this child is capable of. I suggest you think carefully about whether to adopt him. Saving a life is worth more than building a 7-story pagoda." I can only say this much. After staying at the hotel with my daughter for just a few days, I received a call from Shen Su. His voice was filled with exhaustion. "Tang, you must have cooled down after all these days. Stop messing around and come back with our daughter. We all miss you so much." "Miss me?" I curled my lips in disdain. "I bet you only remembered me because you can't handle your precious son anymore." I naturally knew what had been happening recently. The camera I had installed earlier to monitor whether Chenon was harming my daughter was still in place. Adopting a 10-year-old child was never an easy task. When I was still around, I was the one taking care of Chenon. To make him feel at home and not like a stranger, I had carefully studied his habits. Every meal and every piece of clothing I prepared was meticulously tailored to his preferences, requiring a great deal of effort. Now that I had left, Shen Su and his mother were naturally unable to satisfy Chenon. He had always been violent-tempered, prone to throwing fits at the slightest provocation. A few days ago, just because Shen Su's mother had made his least favorite dish, steamed shrimp, for dinner, he threw his chopsticks at her face, swept the entire table of dishes onto the floor, and shattered all the plates and bowls. When Shen Su stepped in to scold him, Chenon punched him right in the temple. On the surveillance footage, Shen Su sat on the ground for a long time before he could get up. Not to mention his birthday, when Shen Su couldn't find the tiramisu cake he wanted and substituted it with a chocolate one. Chenon, in front of everyone, hurled the entire cake onto Shen Su's head. Shen Su was somewhat irritated. Tang, if you hadn't spoiled Anan to the point of being unruly, how could he have turned out like this? He used to be such a well-behaved child. You have to take full responsibility. I sneered inwardly. Even after being treated like this, he still defended the child. Judging by Chen En's level of violence, it was even worse than in my past life. I needed to speed up the divorce. If the course of my past life remained unchanged, Chenon would still set the house on fire. That house was bought by Shen Su and me together. For the sake of my daughter and my future, I had to divorce Shen Su and settle the property division before Chenon set the fire. After dropping Nyo off at kindergarten, I returned home alone. It had only been a few days, yet Shen Su and his mother looked as if they had aged more than 10 years, their faces full of exhaustion. Seeing me walk in through the door, joy lit up their eyes. Tang, you're finally back. I walked coldly toward my room. I'm just here to pack up the rest of my things. Opening my suitcase, I began stuffing the clothes from the wardrobe into it. Shen Su grew anxious on the side. Tang, please, don't go. Let's talk things through properly. Talk things through. Fine. You send Chenon away, and I'll come back with our daughter. Shen Su frowned deeply. How can that be? You want to drive in and away over such a trivial matter. That's making a mountain out of a molehill. I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. His attitude truly baffled me. You saw with your own eyes how Chenan hurt Nyonyo. My daughter almost became withdrawn, and you still call that trivial. Shen Su looked a little guilty. Anan. He was just playing around with Nyonyo. Ha. I didn't want to waste words on this spineless man, so I picked up my suitcase and headed for the living room. Suddenly, a bone-chilling cold swept through my entire body. In front of me stood Chenan, holding a bucket and looking at me with smug satisfaction. Bitch, you want to drive me away? Dream on. He lifted the bucket of ice water and drenched me from head to toe. In the dead of winter, my coat and underclothes were soaked through. Shen Su's gaze at me was fierce enough to devour, and he quickly shielded Chenan behind him. Tang Tang, calm down. Kids can be mischievous sometimes. Don't hold it against him. I let out a cold laugh and pulled the already printed divorce agreement out of my small bag. Shen Su, sign this divorce agreement. Sell the house and we split it 50-50. From now on, no one will stop you from doting on your precious son. What? Shen Su's mother, who had been eavesdropping from the side, immediately jumped out. You can't sell the house. If we sell it, where will we live? Fine, don't sell the house then. We bought it together with our savings. Give me half of its market value, and from now on, you go your way, I'll go mine. We'll have nothing to do with each other. Shen Su glared at me coldly, snatched the divorce agreement from my hand, and tore it to shreds. Yi Tang, don't even think about it. I won't sell the house, and I won't give you a cent. Want a divorce? Keep dreaming. I sneered. I knew Shen Su wouldn't easily agree to divorce and splitting the house. Filing for divorce through the courts would take too long. I needed to wait for an opportunity. Heaven helped me, and soon, the opportunity came. Not long after, I received a call from Chen and school teacher. When I arrived at the school, Shen Su was already standing in the teacher's office. His eyes were black and blue, and his face was full of exhaustion. Beside him, Chenan still wore a careless smile. A girl sat on the sofa across from him, crying incessantly. The middle-aged couple sitting beside her, comforting her, glared at Chenan with furious expressions. Parents, during last night's self-study session, Chenan hid in the woods next to the girl's dormitory, and when this girl was returning to the dorm alone, he forcibly dragged her into the woods and sexually assaulted her. The school has discussed this matter. Chen An's behavior is too egregious, and we have decided to expel him. I looked at Chenan coldly. Perhaps in my previous life, all his twisted psychology was vented on Nyonyo and me, so he hadn't done anything too outrageous outside. Now, it hadn't been long before he couldn't hold it in at that home anymore. After hearing the teacher's words, Shen Su looked at Chenan with fury and shock, raised his arm to hit him, but ultimately couldn't bear to let the slap fall, and cursed in pain, "You beast." Chenan, however, didn't care at all. Instead, he licked his lips with a lewd smile and said, "It's clearly her fault. She's shameless, going out at night wearing only a skirt. She seduced me. You can't blame me." When the girl's father across from him heard this, his eyes nearly split with rage. He lunged over, knocked Chenan to the ground, straddled his neck, and punched him in the face again and again. "You little beast, let your mouth run dirty, I'll beat you to death." In no time, Chen An's face was covered in blood. No one had the heart to stop this father who deeply loved his daughter, until Chenan was nearly beaten to death, only then did they pull him apart. Shen Su stepped forward and knelt before the girl's family, it's all my son's fault. Please, don't call the police. He's still a child. If he goes to prison, his whole life will be ruined. I sneered at the side. This Shensu really loved his cheap son so much that his brain had gone bad. In my previous life, when Chenan set fire and burned the whole family to death, he used the same excuse. Now that Chenan had sexually assaulted someone's daughter, he still said the same thing. Unfortunately, the girl's father wasn't so easy to deal with. He threw a punch straight at Shensu's face, knocking him to the ground. I felt more and more satisfied. The timing was about right. I walked up to the girl's father and spoke softly, "I'm really sorry. I'm the child's stepmother. I came today because I genuinely want to resolve this matter. I heard your daughter, Jingjing, has excellent grades. We're willing to compensate you 2 million yuan to send her abroad to study. What do you think?" The girl's father glared at me. "You bitch, you think you can buy me off with money?" I smiled slightly, glanced at Shensu and his son lying on the ground, leaned in close to the couple, and whispered a few words. When I straightened up again, I still had a smile on my face. "So? Jingjing's mom and dad, this is my sincerity." The man looked at me with some suspicion. "Fine, I'll trust you this once. Within 3 days, I want to receive the 2 million. Carrying the battered Shensu and his son back home, Shensu immediately shouted at me, "Are you insane? You promised them 2 million, where are we supposed to get 2 million from?" I looked coldly at the man before me. "What, not paying? Are you willing to let your precious son go to jail? That would ruin his entire life." Shensu's expression turned grim, "But our family simply can't come up with that much money." I smiled slightly. "Simple, sell the house and you'll have it." Shensu's eyes widened. "Dream on." I shrugged nonchalantly. "Think it over yourselves. Either send Chenan in, he's not yet 14, at most he'll spend a few years in juvenile detention, won't suffer much." Hearing this, Chenan, who was off to the side, couldn't sit still. "I don't want to go to juvenile detention. Dad, you promised my mom you'd take good care of me, you can't listen to this bitch's instigation." Shensu glared at me with a dark expression. I smiled slightly and continued, "Looks like Anan doesn't approve of this plan. But the promise to the girl's parents is 3 days. You can choose to divorce me, the house and the child go to me, and I can transfer your half of the house payment to you within 3 days. At market value, that's exactly 2 million. You venomous woman, this is all your scheming." Shensu gritted his teeth and glared at me. I laughed. "I am scheming to divorce you, but right now your best option is to accept my proposal, and we'll all be happy. Otherwise, your good son's entire life will be ruined." Ignoring their family's murderous glares, I picked up my bag and strode away. Stepping outside, the words I had said to Jingjing's father in the school office earlier resurfaced in my mind. Even if you call the police now, Chenan is under 14, he'll just spend a few years in juvenile detention. He's a pervert. After a few years when he's released, none of us dare imagine what he'll do. Better to hand him over to me. He's the child my husband adopted, not my biological son. He also ruined my daughter. I hate him just as much as you do. Take the 2 million, hand him over to me. And I'll help you eliminate the threat for good." I smiled faintly. It was almost over, one step closer to being completely rid of Chen En's family. Just as I expected, by the very next day, Shensu arranged to meet me at the Civil Affairs Bureau to get the divorce certificate and sign the divorce agreement. For the son of the woman he loved, he truly would risk everything. I transferred the full 2 million I had borrowed from relatives and friends to him. Soon, I received a text from Jingjing's father. the 2 million has been received. I'll send Jingjing abroad to study. As for that little beast, I hope you keep your promise. Otherwise, I'll take matters into my own hands, regardless of the consequences. Everything was progressing smoothly. All that remained was to sell the house, and I could take my daughter and leave far away. Following the trajectory of my past life, the Shinsu family would also be trapped by their own doing under Chen En's reckless arson. However, Chen En was not willing to let me off so easily. After being expelled from school, Chen En fell in with a group of street thugs. Even though I had changed the locks, he always found ways to get into my house, preventing the real estate agents from bringing anyone to view it. Miss Yi, I brought a client to see the property, but it seems like a bunch of thugs are inside drinking, making a racket. They said we can't go in to see the place until you show up. I'm sorry, please reschedule with the client for another time. I'll handle this now. When I arrived at the door of the house, the deafening sound of music blasted from inside. I opened the door and entered to find 7 or 8 punks with dyed hair in all colors gambling inside, while Chen En stood on the sofa, dancing with a beer bottle in hand. Oh, if it isn't my former foster mother. Finally willing to come see me, he said, stumbling over to me with a lecherous grin. I asked coldly, what do you want? Ah, it's just that my brothers here say they don't have girlfriends and feel lonely and bored. I feel sorry for them, and then I thought, I have a ready-made foster mother who's still quite charming. Mom, help me out, won't you? Keep my brothers company, and I promise I'll never come to this house again. I looked up at his sleazy demeanor, feeling a chill in my heart for all the years I had painstakingly raised him in my past life. I raised my hand and slapped him hard across the left cheek. Chen En licked the blood from the corner of his mouth where I had hit him, sneered, and said, "You old slut, you don't actually think you can walk out of here unscathed, do you?" By then, the punks in the room were slowly closing in on me with lecherous grins. Chen En, ever since you came into our family, I've felt sorry for you losing your parents at such a young age. I've treated you like my own son, caring for you with all my heart. Is this really how you're going to repay me? I forced myself to stay calm as I questioned him, my hand slowly reaching into the small bag I carried. He glared at me with venom. Bitch, before my real mother died, she told me everything. If you hadn't interfered in her relationship with Shinsu, she wouldn't have been heartbroken and run off to America alone, marrying my alcoholic, abusive father. And she wouldn't have died there. It's all because of you and Shinsu. Your whole family deserves to die. My heart sank like a stone into an icy abyss. So this is what Siyu had told him. Women like you, who love to seduce other people's husbands, deserve to die. Chen En was completely unhinged, steadily moving closer to me. And finally, my fingers found the square-shaped remote control in my bag. With a click, I pressed the button. The entire room immediately erupted with alarms, and the ceiling sprayed water everywhere like countless shower heads, while dust burst out from all 4 corners of the room. In an instant, the room was filled with mist and powder, making it impossible to see anyone. Ugh, what is this stuff? While the thugs were blinded, I immediately turned and ran toward the door. As I shut it, I locked it several times over, and only when I reached the security booth at the entrance of the neighborhood did I let out a long sigh of relief. Fortunately, I was still haunted by the fire from my past life, and to prevent Chen En from setting another one, I had contacted a fire safety company on the very first day after I was reborn, while Chen En was at school, to install the most complete fire suppression system in the house. At that critical moment just now, I remembered this, found the remote in my bag, and that's how I escaped disaster. Thinking about this, hatred for Chen En surged through me again, and I pulled out my phone. Hello, I'd like to report a crime. There are people using illegal drugs in a group. Chen An's state just now was even more deranged than usual, and I vaguely saw several packets of powdered drugs on the coffee table. The police arrived quickly, and the drug test results came back, confirming my suspicions were correct. What surprised me even more was that Chen An was also selling. With both witnesses and evidence in hand, Chen An was still taken to juvenile detention by the police. At the entrance of the police station, I saw Chen An, who had been summoned as a guardian. He shouted at me in anguish, "Yi Tang, do you have to destroy An? You weren't like this before. You used to be so good to him, you used to love him just like I did." I sneered at the hysterical Shen Su in front of me. Yeah, the child I once cared for with all my heart just tried to destroy me with a group of thugs. Do you know what he just said to me? He said he hates us, hates that you abandoned Su Yu, that it's because of you and me that Su Yu died alone in America. He came back to get revenge on us. But that's not how it really was. It was Su Yu herself who. Shen Su muttered, clutching his head, on the verge of collapse. Yeah, we both know that's not how it was, but Chen An has gone mad. He won't listen to anything now, he just wants to destroy us, including you. Stop protecting a madman, or you'll be next. I left Shen Su, who was already broken by the truth, and walked away alone. Chen An was still sent to juvenile detention, but because he wasn't yet 14, his time there was short, and he would be released soon. As the time of his arson drew closer, I worried it would affect me and Nyo Nyo, so I kept lowering the price and sold the house as quickly as possible. But Chen An's madness still exceeded my imagination. Shen Su's mother died. I was shocked when I heard the news, again because of the butterfly effect caused by my rebirth. In this life, Shen's mother didn't die in the fire, but died early at the hands of Chen An. And Chen An was nowhere to be found. After divorcing me, they quickly moved out of our house. I heard they rented a small apartment of about 40 square meters in a village in the city, with the family of 3 squeezed into one room, living on Shen Su's salary alone. Clearly, in this life, Chen An had become even more manic and uncontrollable. Shen Su called me crying, saying that since the last time he came out of the juvenile detention center, to avoid further trouble, he no longer let Chen An leave the house. During the day, he went to work himself, leaving his mother at home to watch over him. Shen's mother was old and a woman, completely unable to stop the young and strong Chen An. While pulling him to keep him from going out, Chen An shoved her hard, and the back of her head hit the corner of the coffee table, killing her on the spot. At Shen's mother's funeral, Chen An knelt beside the coffin, crying hysterically. But I had a faint ominous feeling in my heart. Chen An killed Shen's mother, where could he go? The phone suddenly rang. It was Nyo Nyo's kindergarten teacher. My heart skipped a beat. Taking a deep breath, I answered, and the teacher's anxious voice came through. Nyo Nyo's mom, something terrible happened. I was just waiting with Nyo Nyo at the kindergarten gate for her grandma to pick her up, when a boy about 10 years old rushed out and snatched Nyo Nyo away. A boy about 10 years old. I rushed out of the funeral hall like crazy. Suddenly, my phone received a text message. If you want to see Nyo Nyo, come to Zizhu Garden. That was the neighborhood of the house I had already sold. I looked down at my watch, March 14th. Why did that date feel so familiar? It was the day Chen An set the fire in my previous life. I had been too careless. I thought that with Shen's mother dead, all the tracks of the previous life would change, but in fact, nothing had changed. That madman Chen An, he wanted to take Nyo Nyo with him to die. I ran like crazy to the old house. Just as I reached the door, Nyo Nyo's cries came through. Mommy. I want mommy. Nyo Nyo's voice overlapped with the memories of my previous life, and the same helplessness from back then surged over me again. Open the door. Chenin, open the door. If you want revenge, take it out on me. Don't hurt my daughter. I threw my whole body against the door, but how could a hard iron door be broken by my mere flesh and blood? Yi Tang, you old bitch, you seduced Shen Su and killed my mother. Are you in pain? My mother was in pain when she died too. Whatever she suffered, you must suffer double. Today, I'm going to make you watch your own daughter burn to death alive. Just like in the last life. I felt ice cold all over. So Chenin had also been reborn. So he remembered everything from the previous life too, and from the moment he opened his eyes, he wanted all of us dead. Click, a familiar sound came from inside the door. It was the sound of a lighter. I forced my voice to stay calm. Chenin, don't you hate me? Don't you want me dead? You couldn't kill me in our past life, and now I'm standing right at your door. Aren't you afraid I'll run away again? There was no smell of fire, only silence from the other side. I knew he was thinking it over. I continued, why not let me in, let me burn alive right in front of you? Wouldn't that be more satisfying? Your mother, watching from heaven, would surely be happier too. Your daughter is in your hands, so I wouldn't dare make any rash moves. After another moment of thought, he finally spoke, fine, I doubt you try anything. Soon, the door cracked open, and a large hand quickly yanked me inside. Before I could react, Chenin had a knife pressed firmly against my neck. He sneered at me, first time I've seen someone rushing to die. Go, crouch in the corner. I rushed over and tightly hugged my daughter, whose eyes were swollen from crying. Nyonyo, don't be afraid, mommy's here. Chenin laughed mockingly at us. Fine, let's make you a pair of mummified mother and daughter. He picked up a white plastic bucket and began pouring its contents onto the floor. Looking down, I saw it was already covered in gasoline. I held my daughter even tighter in my arms and whispered, Nyonyo, in a moment, no matter what happens, hold on to mommy tightly and bury your head in my arms, okay? Nyonyo looked up at me with confusion and nodded firmly. After emptying the entire bucket of gasoline, Chenin held a lighter, his face alight with excitement. Let's enjoy the blazing fire together. He pressed the lighter, ready to ignite it. Wait. Chenin looked at me, what now? You're dead today. I swallowed hard to suppress my fear and said, even though saying this now might be useless, I think you have the right to know. I never came between your mother and Shen Su. Back then, your mother dumped Shen Su to go to America. I only met and married Shen Su 2 years after he went there. You can check the marriage certificate yourself. And Su you married your father back then just to get a U.S. green card, so she randomly married a local homeless man. Your mother's death had nothing to do with us from start to finish. As I spoke, anger flared in Chen En's eyes. Impossible. That's not what my mom said. She wouldn't lie to me. I don't know why your mother told you that version, maybe to preserve some last shred of maternal image in your eyes, but I'm telling you, even if you wanted revenge, you've got the wrong people. Chenin stared at me for a long moment, then suddenly laughed. Haha, Yi Tang, do you really think I'm that stupid? You're at death's door and still making up stories to fool me. I tell you, I don't believe a single word. As he spoke, Chenin pressed the lighter, and in an instant, the room erupted in flames. The moment the fire shot up, I sprang to my feet and rammed my head into Chenin, knocking him to the floor. He fell onto the gasoline-soaked ground, and the flames instantly engulfed him. I hugged Nyonyo tightly, covering her entire body with my clothes, and rushed straight to the balcony, crashing through the glass. As I leaped from the 10th floor, Chen En's agonized screams echoed behind me. Soon, a soft touch came as I landed on the air cushion. I had specifically called the police ahead of time to remind them to set it up before I arrived. I let out a long sigh of relief, quickly opened my clothes, and Ñoño blinked her eyes at me. Tears instantly streamed down my face. Thankfully, this time, Ñoño was fine. Thankfully, this time, I saved my daughter. The police soon rescued us. Because we arrived in time, the fire didn't spread to the entire building like last time, but was contained in the room where Chen had started it. As the stretcher was carried out, I saw Chen's charred body. They sent Chen to the hospital. Truly, heaven doesn't take the wicked. He didn't die, but 90% of his body was burned. Just like in the previous life, Shensu had to bear the massive debt for Chen, compensating the homeowner for the losses. At the same time, there were also Chen's enormous medical and surgery expenses. Shensu collapsed in despair on the hospital bed. I went to the hospital to see Chen. His body was pitch black, and only his eyes glared at me with venom. I took out a letter and a small notebook. Unfolding the letter in front of him, I said, "Look closely, this is the farewell letter your mother wrote to Shensu back then. It clearly states that he was going to America to seek a better life, bidding you farewell. And this, my marriage certificate with Shensu, look closely, it was 2 years after your mother wrote that letter. From start to finish, you've been taking revenge on the wrong person." Chen stared at me, whimpering incessantly, trembling all over, struggling to get up. Blood seeped from his bandages everywhere, and various machines started beeping again. Watching the doctors rush into the room, I curled my lips into a cold smile. "For the rest of your life, rot here." As I reached the door of the ward, I encountered Shensu crouching there, his face ashen. When he saw me, his eyes lit up instantly. "Tang Tang, I'm finished. Help me. We've been married for so many years, you'll help me, right?" I looked at him sarcastically as he grabbed my hand with a hopeful expression. "Help you? How do you want me to help you? Didn't you sell the house before and make a lot of money? You must have a lot of cash on hand now, right? Help me pay off the debt for and burning the house, okay? If I help you pay off the debt, what about me and Ñoño? I can earn it back. Once you pay it off, from now on, I'll take good care of you and Ñoño, okay?" Ha, how shameless. I coldly brushed off his hand holding mine. "Shensu, I warned you long ago, but you didn't listen. Now, your mother is dead, and you're burdened with huge debts. It's all your own doing, nothing to do with me. From now on, don't ever appear in front of me again." Shensu dropped his hand weakly, looking at me in despair, like a dying man. In the hospital at night, Shensu sat alone by the hospital bed, staring at the sleeping Chen, his hands trembling uncontrollably. "You forced me to do this. It's all because of you that you've ruined my life. Why should you lie here enjoying yourself while I work myself to death every day paying your medical bills?" Chen was awakened by his words. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw Shensu's snake-like gaze. Chen was so startled he whimpered and trembled all over. Shensu's hand tightly gripped his charred throat. "You forced me to do this. Go to hell." Chen's whimpers echoed through the ward, the entire bed shaking violently with his body. Soon, there was no more movement. Under the dim light, Shensu looked like a demon. From the hospital downstairs, the sound of police sirens grew closer.